Your colleague sends you an updated version of a file you built last week, and when you open it, everything looks fine, but something feels off. Did they change the numbers, move a row, fix something, or break something? You start comparing, eyes jumping back and forth, and 5 minutes later, you're still not sure you've caught everything. Sound familiar? In this video, I'm going to show you 3 ways to compare 2 Excel sheets and find every single difference. And I'll show you something that most tutorials skip, which is how sometimes 2 cells can look identical when they're actually different. You can download the example file from the link in the video description and pin comment and try these techniques yourself. Before we compare anything, it helps to be able to see both sheets at the same time. So let me quickly show you how to do that. If your 2 sheets are in the same workbook, like I have here with the sheet for version 1 and the sheet for version 2, simply go to the View tab and then click on New Window. This opens the second window showing the same file. Then on the View tab again, we're going to Arrange All, and I want them tiled vertically. So now I have version 1 in the left window, and in the right window, I'm going to select version 2. To be clear, this is the same file, we're just looking at 2 different views of it. Now, if your sheets are in 2 completely separate workbooks, you don't need a new window, you can just go ahead and arrange them, and Excel will tile whatever you have open. Okay, now that we can see both, let's find the differences. The first method uses conditional formatting to highlight every cell that's different between the 2 sheets. To set that up, select the data on your version 1 sheet, and then on the Home tab, Conditional Formatting, New Rule. At the bottom, we want to use a formula to determine which cells to format. And then in the formula, I'm going to select the first cell, and here I want to F4 3 times to remove the absolute reference $signs. That way the format will check every cell in the range selected. And I'm checking that it is not equal to the same cell in my version 2 sheet. F4 3 times to make that relative as well. Then I'll format it with a red font. And let's give it a red fill as well, but we're going to go into more colors because that is way too bright. Just going to tone it down to a shade of pink. Okay, there's my preview, looks good. Click OK. And there it is, every mismatch highlighted. This is fast, it's visual, and it works across any size data set. If you just need to know where the differences are, this is often all you need. Now, before I show you the formula method, I want to show you something that trips people up. You're looking at 2 cells. They look identical, but conditional formatting is still highlighting them as different. What's going on? This often happens with data that's been imported, copied from another system, or pasted from somewhere else. The values look the same, but Excel sees something that you don't. The most common culprits are trailing spaces, a name that has an invisible space at the end. This one doesn't, but if we look at France in version 2, you can see there's a space after E. The second most common culprit is numbers stored as text. Here the cell displays 43,100, but here Excel is treating it as a text string, not a number. It looks the same as the cells around it, but they're not the same thing to Excel. And lastly, date formatting mismatches. 2 cells both show the 5th of April 2026, but one is stored as a date value and the other is stored as a text string. Visually identical, functionally completely different. So how do you catch these? A quick way to identify trailing spaces is to use the len function, which calculates the length of text. So for the country, let's calculate the length there minus the length of the country in version 2, close parentheses. It should equal 0. Let's copy it down. We can see the row for France has -1, indicating that the length in version 2 is longer, which will be our space at the end of France. For numbers stored as text, keep your eye out for Excel's error checking indicators. We've got one here on the 43,100 cell. Hover over the indicator and you'll get the error message. You can either ignore the error or convert it to a number. That's now fixed and the formatting's gone away. And for dates stored as text, simply press Ctrl backtick to view the spreadsheet without the formatting. Dates formatted correctly display as their date serial number, and any dates that still look like a date are stored as text. Press Ctrl backtick to reapply the formatting. Now let's build what I'd call an audit sheet. This is a third sheet where you can see at a glance every value that changed, with both the old and the new versions side by side. This is something you could hand to a manager, send to a client, or use as a record of what was changed between versions. Insert a new sheet. I'll call it change log. I've already inserted my sheet and brought in the table headings. Next, we're going to use an if statement to test if each cell in version 1 equals version 2. So if this cell equals the version 2 cell, then let's just return the version 2 cell. You could return the version 1 cell since they're the same, but I'm already on version 2 sheet, so it's easy to select that. If it doesn't match, we'll return both results and prefix them with text that tells the user which sheet they came from. We'll return the V1 text first, prefix with V1 : space, close my double quotes, and I'm going to concatenate to that the value from the cell. And then I'm going to concatenate a comma, space, V2 : space, close my double quotes, and the V2 text. Close if, press enter, and we can see this cell contains the same data, but if I copy and paste that for all the cells in the table, and I'm just going to paste special formulas. Now differences stand out because they show both versions, allowing you to quickly locate and fix them. The first two methods are great when your data lines up perfectly, but as soon as rows are added, deleted or sorted, those methods can start flagging everything as different, even when most of it hasn't changed. Power Query solves that by matching rows. So instead of comparing cell by cell, you're comparing actual records, and you can clearly see what was added, removed, or changed. Start by formatting both datasets in an Excel table with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl-T. My table has headers. Click OK. You can choose a color scheme that's in keeping with your theme. And let's rename this. Repeat for the second table, Ctrl-T. My table has headers. We'll also make it green, and this one is version 2. Now I can load these tables into Power Query. So with the table selected on the Data tab, from Table Range, there's my V1 table in Power Query. Let's close and load 2. I'll just create a connection for now and click OK. Let's go to the version 2 table and rinse and repeat. And again, let's close and load 2. Only create a connection. On the right, we've got the Queries and Connections pane. I'm going to double click one of the queries to open the query editor. And here on the Home tab, we're going to merge queries as new. My first table is version 1 and my second table is version 2. Now I want to compare records, that is all data on a row by row basis, to see that they're the same. So I'm going to left click each column in turn, holding down Control, and you notice they're being numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is how Power Query knows what to match. And lastly, I need to choose the join kind. Now there are 6 different joins, but we're only interested in left anti. Left anti returns the rows that have been removed or changed, rows that used to be in version 1 and now either aren't in version 2 or they're different in some way. I'll click OK, and we've got 6 rows that have changed. Notice there's a new column on the end for version 2. But if I click in the cell for table, and let's just expand this pane at the bottom, we get a preview of the data in that column. You can see each row is empty, which makes sense because this data is not in version 2. So I'll delete that column, I don't need it anymore. And let's rename this query version 1 changed. Let's go to the version 2 query and we'll repeat merge queries as new. So this time the version 2 sheet is first and version 1 is second. Select the columns holding down Control to select them in turn and number them accordingly. Then we want the left anti. It's going to find rows only in the first table, which is version 2. Click OK. Again, we don't need this column. Delete that. And now I have the rows in the version 2 table that are different or aren't in version 1. Let's rename this version 2 changed. And I'm going to close and load 2. Now remember, we already loaded version 1 and version 2, so we're only loading version 1 changed and version 2 changed. This time I'm going to load them to tables in new worksheets. Click OK, and there's my version 2 changed list, and version 1 changed list. Now here's the part that makes this genuinely powerful. Let's just move the original version 2 sheet across. If I add a new row of data here, let's say order number 1020, and we'll enter it for the 19th of April. This one's going to be for Europe, which is Sarah, and the country is the UK. We'll make it 35,000. Now we've got a new entry in version 2 that isn't in version 1. Let's go to the query, and on the data tab, we're going to refresh all. And now we see this new record is automatically included, giving you up-to-date information. If this got you curious about Power Query, the comparison we just built is only a small taste of what it can do. I've got a full Power Query course linked below if you want to go deeper. It's one of those tools that once you start using it properly, you'll wonder how you ever managed without it. If you're not ready for the full course yet, I've linked a beginner Power Query video right here. It's the perfect next step. I'll see you there.